Ethan Callahan was the kind of man people envied. At only 42, he had turned a single tech startup into a multi-billion-dollar empire headquartered in Silicon Valley. His days were filled with high-stakes meetings, global conferences, and invitations to the most exclusive events in the country. But what made the public most envious wasn't the sprawling mansion in Napa Valley or the private jet. It was his wife, Cassandra. Cassandra was a vision, elegant, poised, with a mysterious smile that hinted at hidden depths. They met in Manhattan during a charity gala a decade ago. She was a freelance art curator from a modest background, and he was already a rising name in tech. Their whirlwind romance ended in a fairy tale wedding at Lake Tahoe. To the outside world, they were the American dream personified. Wealthy, attractive, charitable. But behind closed doors, cracks were forming. Ethan had become obsessed with work, often traveling for weeks. Cassandra, left alone in the mansion, felt more like a piece of furniture than a partner. Her days were quiet, filled with reading, solitary walks among the vineyards, and dinners eaten alone under crystal chandeliers. One day, a familiar face returned into Cassandra's life, Liam Hayes. He had been Ethan's childhood best friend, until life took them in different directions. While Ethan soared, Liam floundered. No stable job, a string of failed relationships, and no real place to call home. He had a rugged charm, the kind born from hardship, and eyes that held storms. Ethan, ever loyal, offered Liam a place to stay in one of his goose houses. "Get back on your feet," he said. "Your family." Liam moved in with nothing but a duffel bag and a cracked iPhone. At first, he felt out of place among the marble countertops and $10,000 wine decanters. But he adjusted quickly, especially when Cassandra began spending more time with him. They reminisced about the past, about high school dances and camping trips, about the time Liam punched a bully for teasing Cassandra. It felt natural, easy, like slipping into an old pair of jeans. And for Cassandra, it was the first time in years someone truly listened. Ethan remained oblivious. He was working on closing a deal that would double the value of his company. Nights at the office turned into weekends abroad. Cassandra began inviting Liam inside the main house. They'd cook simple meals, drink wine, laugh at old stories. Then one evening, as a storm rolled over the valley, the power went out. They sat by candlelight, and Liam brushed a strand of hair from Cassandra's face. She didn't pull away. The kiss that followed felt inevitable. When the lights flickered back, so did guilt. But neither of them spoke about it. And so the perfect life began to quietly fracture. Cassandra awoke the next morning to the sound of birds chirping outside the balcony. The sunlight spilled lazily across the silk sheets, but she didn't feel warm. Her chest felt tight, her stomach knotted. The memory of last night's kiss haunted her like a ghost clinging to the corners of the room. She glanced at Ethan's side of the bed, empty. He had left before dawn for another trip to New York. Another meeting, another investor. She barely remembered what they had talked about the night before he left. Something about a potential IPO. She had nodded, smiled, kissed his cheek, and wished him luck, all while another man's taste still lingered on her lips. Downstairs, Liam was already in the kitchen, barefoot and casual, as if he belonged there. He didn't say a word as he handed her a cup of coffee. His fingers brushed against hers, electric but restrained. "I didn't sleep," she admitted. "Me neither," Liam said, keeping his voice low. "We need to forget it happened." But neither of them believed the words, and neither tried very hard to obey them. In the following days, they danced around each other, Careful, quiet, aching. Liam stayed in the guest house, but more often than not, she found him wandering the grounds, sitting by the fountain, sketching in a worn notebook. Cassandra was drawn to him like a moth to flame. Then one rainy afternoon, while Ethan video called her from a hotel suite, she saw it in her husband's eyes, a distance. He was distracted, preoccupied. "I miss you," she said. He nodded. "I'll be back next week. We'll do something nice. Maybe a trip." She smiled and ended the call, but the silence after was deafening. Later that night, Cassandra found Liam in the greenhouse, wiping dust from ceramic pots. The humidity clung to their skin. She stood in the doorway for what felt like an eternity. "Why do you make this so hard?" she asked. Liam looked up. "Because I don't want to lie. Not to you. Not to him." Cassandra stepped forward, her heels clicking against the tile. "We've already lied." Their kiss this time was different. Fiercer. Desperate. It was no longer just curiosity or loneliness. It was escape. The affair continued in stolen moments, behind locked doors and shadowed corners, through heated texts and long glances. Every time Ethan returned, Cassandra painted on the perfect smile. Every time he left, the guilt drowned in passion. But guilt had a way of fermenting. It turned sour. Cassandra began having nightmares. Ethan walking in on them, his face blank, his voice a whisper. "How could you?" One afternoon, Ethan returned unexpectedly. A canceled meeting. Cassandra froze when she heard the sound of his shoes on the marble floor. She had just kissed Liam goodbye an hour earlier. He walked into the living room, holding a small velvet box. "I got you something." Inside was a necklace, a single diamond on a delicate chain. "For no reason," he said. "Just because I've been away too much." Tears burned her eyes. She kissed him harder than she meant to and whispered, "Thank you." And for the first time in weeks, Cassandra realized she still loved him, which made everything worse. The vineyard was in full bloom, and tourists had started booking tastings again. Ethan wanted to expand the winery side of his estate, and Cassandra, once a silent partner in the business, was now forced to attend meetings and oversee new design layouts. She welcomed the distraction. It kept her away from Liam, or at least gave her an excuse to try. But Liam wasn't the kind to let go easily. He began showing up more often, helping with minor renovations, chatting with the staff. He brought sandwiches from town, flirted with the sommeliers, made everyone laugh. But when he caught Cassandra alone, his eyes darkened with longing. "Tell me to leave," he said one afternoon, cornering her behind the barrel room. "Tell me to pack my things." She couldn't. Her silence was permission. And so, their secret continued. They met at night in the garden, beneath the twisted vines and starlit skies. Liam would sneak into the mansion while Ethan slept in his custom memory foam cocoon. Cassandra began locking her bedroom door, not to keep Ethan out, but to protect what she was becoming inside it. Meanwhile, Ethan grew, sweeter, more attentive. He took her to Lake Tahoe for a weekend, the same resort where they had married. He even cried one night, drunk on whiskey, confessing how scared he'd been during the last merger. "I almost lost it all," he whispered. "But knowing you were here, that kept me going." Cassandra held him until he passed out, and for a moment, she hated herself more than she hated her situation. When they returned home, things took a turn. Liam grew jealous. "He's waking up," he warned. "He's looking at you differently." Cassandra shook her head. "He trusts us. You're his best friend." "Exactly," Liam said, voice sharp. "That's why this can't last." But neither of them stopped. Until one evening, Ethan returned from a board meeting early and found Liam in the main house. Cassandra was upstairs. The sight didn't immediately alarm him, but something in Liam's expression, too casual, too rehearsed, lingered in Ethan's mind. He waited until Liam left, then wandered to the backyard. By the rose garden, he found a wine glass, half full, lipstick stained. Cassandra's. There were 2 chairs beneath the arbor, still warm. Ethan said nothing that night, but his sleep was light, restless. The next morning, he asked Cassandra, "Did Liam come by yesterday?" She paused. Briefly, he needed something from the cellar. Ethan nodded slowly. "You two seem close." Cassandra turned away. "He's your friend. I'm just being polite." But something had shifted. Ethan was watching now, and shadows began growing in places they once overlooked. Ethan began playing a silent game of investigation. Not the kind you'd find in crime dramas. No confrontations, no accusations. Just careful, calculated observation. He started arriving home earlier than usual. Asked fewer questions, but listened more. Noted the changes. Cassandra's perfume lingering when it hadn't before. Her sudden interest in gardening. Her reluctance to let him hold her in bed. He installed a security update on the estate's surveillance system. Cassandra didn't notice. Neither did Liam. He didn't check the footage right away. He didn't want to. But something inside him, something old and primal, kept whispering, "She's slipping away." Cassandra, meanwhile, felt the pressure mounting. Her nights with Liam were no longer passionate escapes, but tense encounters filled with whispered arguments and rushed goodbyes. Liam wanted her to leave Ethan. "We could start fresh," he said. "I know people in Oregon. We could build something together." She laughed bitterly. "You have no job, no home, no plan. You think I can leave all this for a dream?" Liam looked wounded. "So it was just fun for you?" "No," she whispered. "It was never just fun, but it was never real, either. Not really." Their affair was burning too hot, too fast. Cassandra started pulling back, setting boundaries. Fewer texts. No more late-night visits. But it was too late. Ethan watched the footage. It started with harmless conversations in the garden, casual smiles, innocent touches. Then came the footage from 2 nights prior. Liam slipping into the house after midnight. Cassandra opening the door in a silk robe. Ethan watched, frozen, as his best friend disappeared inside. He didn't finish the tape. He poured himself a drink instead and sat alone in the den, the walls of his perfect life collapsing quietly around him. The next morning, Cassandra found Ethan making pancakes. From scratch. She hadn't seen him cook in years. "Something special?" she asked. He smiled. "Just felt like being home." They ate in silence, syrup dripping off crystal plates. Later that afternoon, Ethan met Liam in the garage. Thinking of upgrading the Jag. Ethan said, gesturing to the vintage car. "Want to go for a drive?" Liam hesitated but nodded. "Sure." They drove the winding hills of Napa, Ethan oddly calm. "You know," Ethan said, eyes fixed on the road, "I've always trusted you. Since we were kids." Liam said nothing. "That's rare. Trust. Hard to rebuild once it breaks." Liam's fingers tightened on his knee. The car ride ended without incident, but the message was clear. Ethan knew. And now, it was only a matter of time before the perfect world they'd all built would explode. The days that followed were eerily calm. Ethan didn't say a word about what he had seen. He smiled, kissed Cassandra goodnight, and hosted a lavish garden party that Saturday with a guest list of CEOs, winemakers, and socialites. The wine flowed, the string quartet played, and the sun bathed the estate in golden light. Cassandra wore a pale blue dress and tried to enjoy the evening, but Ethan's calm unnerved her. He hadn't asked about Liam. He hadn't brought up the garden, the night visits, the distance. His kindness felt like a blade wrapped in silk. Liam was at the party, too, invited like always. He stuck close to the bar, dressed in a suit Ethan had bought him months ago. Every time Cassandra looked at him, he looked away. During dinner, Ethan tapped his glass and stood to give a toast. "To old friends," he said, locking eyes with Liam. "And to the people who show us who they really are when they think we're not watching." Everyone laughed politely, unaware of the weight behind his words. But Liam choked slightly on his wine. Cassandra's hand trembled under the table. After dessert, Ethan invited Liam for a private cigar on the terrace. Cassandra watched them from the window, anxiety clawing at her throat. "You look tense," said a guest beside her. "I'm just tired," she replied, forcing a smile. Outside, Ethan lit both cigars and handed one to Liam. "You remember when we were 15 and I caught you sneaking into our neighbor's pool?" Liam grinned nervously. "Yeah, you blackmailed me into mowing your lawn for a month." "I let you off easy," Ethan said. "But this time, I don't think I will." Liam froze. Ethan exhaled smoke. "I know. Everything. I've seen the tapes. The garden. The greenhouse. My bed." Silence. "You're not just a backstabbing bastard," Ethan continued. "You're a coward. Sneaking around like a thief in a house I let you live in." Liam opened his mouth to speak, but Ethan raised a hand. "Don't. It's done." "What are you going to do?" Liam finally asked. Ethan looked up at the stars. "Oh, I'm not going to scream. Or hit you. That's what you'd expect. No. I'm going to bury you." Liam paled. The next morning, Liam was gone. His room was cleared out. No note. No goodbye. Cassandra pretended to be surprised when Ethan told her. He said he needed to move on. Ethan said, sipping his espresso. She nodded. "Maybe it's for the best." Ethan leaned forward. "Maybe. But some debts don't disappear just because you run." She looked up at him. And for the first time in years, Cassandra was afraid of her husband. Liam didn't run far. He had nowhere to go, really, just a cheap motel 2 towns over, where the wallpaper peeled and the air conditioner groaned like an old man. He spent days staring at his phone, waiting for a message from Cassandra. It never came. He called her once. She didn't answer. He knew Ethan was behind it. He felt the walls closing in. Back at the estate, Cassandra felt like she was living in a dream, one where she couldn't wake up. Ethan was calm, loving even. He brought her breakfast in bed, scheduled spa treatments, even surprised her with a private chef who cooked an elaborate anniversary dinner, despite the date being months away. But everything he did had an edge. A quiet reminder. "I know." He began asking subtle questions. "Did Liam ever say why he was always in the garden?" "I noticed your robe was missing last week. Did you find it?" "He used to look at you strangely. Did you notice that too?" Each question was coated in sweetness, but Cassandra felt the poison underneath. She didn't know what Ethan planned, and the not knowing was worse than any confrontation. Then, an envelope arrived. No return address, just her name on creamy paper. Inside were photographs. Her, Liam, the greenhouse, the kiss. There was no note, just a thumb drive with a single file, surveillance footage, time-stamped, uncut. She sat on the edge of the bed, heart pounding. Ethan had saved everything. She tried to breathe, but it felt like drowning. That night, she waited for him in the library. "We need to talk," she said. Ethan didn't look surprised. "We do. I know you know." "I do. I'm sorry." He chuckled darkly. "No, you're not. You're scared." She didn't deny it. "Do you love him?" he asked. "I don't know. Did you ever love me?" "I did," she whispered. "Maybe I still do." He stood slowly. "You destroyed me, Cassandra. Not with the betrayal, but with the silence. You looked me in the eyes, night after night, and lied." Tears welled in her eyes. "What do you want me to do?" He walked to the door, pausing before exiting. "You'll see soon." She didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside made her flinch. She checked her phone obsessively, half hoping Liam would reach out. But he didn't, because Ethan had gotten to him first. Liam finally reached out. One message. For words, he knows. "I'm sorry." Cassandra stared at the screen, heart racing. She typed a dozen replies and deleted each one. What could she say? That she missed him? That Ethan had turned into a stranger? That she didn't know what she wanted anymore? She dropped the phone and wept. Meanwhile, Ethan was orchestrating a masterpiece of quiet destruction. The first blow came through Liam's bank account. The small savings Liam had finally scraped together vanished overnight. Frozen, Ethan had used his contacts to flag the account under suspicion of fraud. Then came the smear campaign. Liam's name surfaced in local gossip columns, anonymous tips alleging he'd stolen from the Callahan estate. Cassandra saw the headlines. Millionaire's ex-friend under investigation. Tech mogul betrayed by boyhood buddy. The articles were vague but brutal. No charges, just whispers. And whispers, in Liam's world, were deadly. He called her again. This time she answered. "You have to make him stop," Liam said, his voice hollow. "I can't. He's going to ruin me." "He already has." Liam paused. "Come with me." "To where?" "Anywhere. Just leave. Before he decides you're next." She wanted to say yes, but her silence said otherwise. When she looked up from the call, Ethan was standing in the doorway. "I wondered how long before he reached out again," he said. Cassandra stood, trembling. "You're destroying his life." Ethan smiled, cold. "He destroyed mine first. You loved him like a brother, and he buried a knife in my back. What do you think that entitles me to?" Cassandra stepped forward. "This isn't justice. It's vengeance." He leaned in close. "It's survival." Later that evening, Ethan hosted a charity gala at the estate. Cameras flashed. Politicians shook his hand. Magazine editors toasted to his success. Cassandra wore diamonds and smiled for the cameras, but inside she felt like glass, clear, fragile, ready to shatter. She caught her reflection in a mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. Across the ballroom, Ethan was laughing with a senator. When he turned, their eyes met. She finally understood. Ethan wasn't planning to ruin Liam. He was planning to erase him. And she might be next. The days after the gala were marked by a chilling silence. Cassandra wandered the estate like a ghost, unsure of what remained hers. Ethan was always polite, always present, but there was nothing behind his eyes now. No warmth, no rage. Just a void. Then came the letter. Slipped beneath her bedroom door. It was unsigned but unmistakable. "You should be careful, Cassandra. Accidents happen, even in paradise." Her blood ran cold. She ran to Ethan's office, letter in hand. "What is this?" she demanded, voice shaking. He didn't even look up from his laptop. "A warning, maybe. People gossip. Liam had enemies." "You think this is a joke?" "I think," he said, "you're realizing what I've always known. Loyalty is everything. She crumpled the letter in her fist and walked away. That night, she began packing, but her suitcase was gone. So were her car keys. The housekeeper told her Ethan had requested all travel privileges be temporarily suspended for security reasons. Cassandra felt the walls closing in. She texted Liam. No response. Panicking, she drove into town using the gardener's truck. She went to the motel where Liam had been staying, only to find it abandoned. The front desk clerk remembered him, but said he checked out suddenly, left no forwarding address. Just like that, he vanished. Back at the estate, Ethan was waiting on the porch. "You lied to me," she snapped. "You said you didn't care, that you wouldn't." "I said I wouldn't scream," Ethan interrupted. "I never promised I wouldn't act." "What did you do to him?" He didn't answer. The next day, Cassandra received an invitation to a private event, hosted by Ethan's company, in honor of a new acquisition. She tried to decline. Ethan insisted she attend. "You're still my wife," he said. The event was held at a luxury rooftop venue in San Francisco. Cameras everywhere. Ethan delivered a speech praising transparency, innovation, and trust. When he stepped off the stage, the applause was deafening. He turned to Cassandra, smiling. "See? The world believes in perfection." She looked out over the city, glittering below, and she finally realized Ethan wasn't going to divorce her. He was going to keep her, forever, as a trophy, a reminder, and perhaps, eventually, a prisoner. Cassandra could barely breathe in her own home. Security followed her everywhere now, under the guise of protecting her from the media frenzy. Her phone was monitored. Her laptop had mysteriously stopped working. When she asked for a new one, Ethan handed her an iPad preloaded with only pre-approved apps. "You'll be safer this way," he said. She smiled and thanked him, then waited until he was gone to break the bathroom mirror and pry the GPS chip from inside the iPad's case. She had become a prisoner in a palace, but not a powerless one. Cassandra began pretending. She smiled more, laughed at Ethan's jokes, hosted dinners, dressed in the gowns he sent her. She kissed him when he leaned in, and hated herself every time. But behind her eyes, gears turned. She began stashing cash from the estate's wine sales. Little by little, slipping folded bills into the lining of her closet. She befriended a new housekeeper and discovered a back entrance rarely used since renovations. All she needed was time. Then, like fate itself intervened, she saw a name in the local newspaper, Liam Hayes, listed under a missing persons bulletin. Cassandra's heart nearly stopped. He was officially gone. Vanished. She asked Ethan over breakfast, her tone light. "Did you hear about Liam?" He sipped his coffee, unfazed. "Sad, really. He was always a bit unstable." "You don't think he hurt himself, do you?" Ethan looked at her. "I think when people cross the wrong lines, they tend to disappear, one way or another." She almost dropped her fork. That night, she contacted the only person she trusted left in the world, her sister, Megan, a nurse in Oregon. They hadn't spoken much over the years. Ethan had made sure of that. But Cassandra used a burner phone she stole from a winery driver. Her message was short. "I'm in danger. I need help. Don't trust anyone who contacts you but me." Megan responded instantly. "Tell me where. I'll come." They set a date. 2 weeks. A fundraiser at the estate would provide the perfect distraction. Cassandra would sneak out during the chaos and meet Megan at a truck stop on Route 29. For the first time in months, she had hope. But 2 days before the escape, Cassandra woke to find her burner phone missing, and a note on her pillow. I warned you about accidents." Cassandra didn't panic. She wanted to, God, she wanted to scream, run, throw every antique vase in the estate against the walls. But she knew that's what Ethan wanted. To see her break. To know she was beaten. So she played her role. She attended the fundraiser in a crimson gown, diamonds sparkling under the chandeliers. Politicians shook her hand. Investors toasted her elegance. And Ethan, he stayed close all night, smiling like a man who had won. She laughed when he did, nodded at every compliment, even danced with him once, letting his hand rest lightly on her back, her skin crawling with every touch. But in her clutch, she held something else, a final plan. While Ethan mingled with the mayor, she slipped away, just long enough to find the new bartender. A fresh face. She had met him once during planning, remembered his name, Josh. "Do me a favor," she asked sweetly, slipping him a folded bill. "My husband likes this rare wine from the cellar. Tell him it's a surprise for me. Pour him a glass after the next toast. I'll join him then." Josh nodded. "Sure thing, Mrs. Callahan." It wasn't wine. Not exactly. It was a vintage from Ethan's personal stash. A bottle Cassandra remembered him warning a friend about once. "It's absurdly strong," he'd said. "2 glasses and you're out like a light." I had to ship it from a closed-down vineyard in France. Practically illegal. She'd only need one. By midnight, Ethan was in the lounge chair on the balcony, wine glass half empty, eyes heavy. The guests had left. The staff was cleaning up. Cassandra sat beside him, gazing at the stars. "You know," he slurred slightly, "we could have been perfect." "We were," she whispered, "until we weren't." His head lolled. "Did you love him?" "I think I loved who he let me be." He blinked, confused, and passed out. Cassandra moved fast. She had a 10-minute head start, 15 if he stayed unconscious longer. She grabbed the duffel bag she'd hidden under the gardener's shed, ran barefoot across the vineyard, and climbed into Megan's waiting car behind the old chapel ruins. As they sped away, Cassandra looked back one last time at the mansion glowing behind them. Her prison, her palace, her battlefield. 2 weeks later, she was living under a different name in a coastal Oregon town. Her hair was shorter, her eyes harder. No news of Ethan. No sightings of Liam. No explanations. Just silence. Until one day, a letter arrived at her rented mailbox. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. Her, standing in the vineyard, taken from a distance. On the back, one sentence written in Ethan's unmistakable hand. "Some debts don't disappear.